back to my channel. This is Mustafa Sharif, and today's video is very special because I'm starting a new series of a podcast called A Day of a Shopify Expert. And the aim of this podcast is to help all Shopify experts, developers, conversion rate optimization experts, creating a community for them, giving inspiration and answering their questions, and make them feel that they are not alone. With that being said, in today's episode, I have Isaac Wellish as my first guest. He is a Shopify developer, finished the free mode, and started working in Shopify development space 2 years ago. And in today's episode, we're going to speak about his personal story of Shopify, technical skills and developer approach, sales and client acquisition, client communication and management, and a lot more. So, with that being said, I hope you like the episode. Let's get started.
Hello, Isaac Wellish. How are you?
Hi, Mustafa. I'm great. How are you?
All is good. Today is the first episode in A Day of a Shopify Expert. We're gonna discuss a lot of things like your personal story with Shopify, your developer approach and technical skills, sales approach, client communication, and the future of Shopify. A lot of very common topics on Shopify space. So I would think that Shopify developers are gonna wanna listen to something like this. So let's get started with when and how did you get started in Shopify as Shopify expert?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me on here. It's one of the first podcasts I've done. So it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to share my experience. And it's definitely been a journey for me the last couple of years, and I've noticed the one thing that has helped me a lot is these kinds of resources, seeing other creators, other developers post and share their journey experience. I think that's helped me tremendously. Let me talk about my journey a little bit. So I started, I did the free mote boot camp, and I started that in the summer of 2022. So it's been about 2 years, a little 2.5 years since I kind of really started the journey. And about 6 months after that is when I landed my first job on Upwork. So I completed the boot camp, and then about 6 months later, about 6 months into the boot camp, I actually started going on Upwork. As part of the boot camp is they have you go on to Upwork and actually apply for real jobs. And that was really scary for me, I remember. I applied for my first job, and it took me like 6 hours to apply for it because I wanted to figure out the problem. It was like a PayPal issue. Like there was a payment page on this guy's Shopify. I don't even think it was a Shopify store. I think it was literally just a payment page, and he had posted the link to it. And I spent about 6 hours just like going through the Chrome developer tools, trying to figure out why the link wasn't working. I don't remember what the issue was. But I kept trying different things, and eventually I figured out what was wrong with it, and I was so excited. I made a Loom video about it, and I showed the guy exactly how to fix it, and I sent it off to him, and he responded, and it like blew my mind that he actually like looked at my proposal and responded to it. Ultimately, he didn't end up hiring me for whatever reason, but it didn't matter. That was like kind of like that was a big step for me. It was like, oh, someone actually wants to hire me. You know, that was really scary. So after that, I got really lucky the first time because then I started sending a bunch of proposals and getting no responses at all, which really was a confidence killer. But eventually, just continuing to send proposals, I got someone to accept some custom theme development work, and once I finished that job, then I got another one, and it kind of just kept building on itself. And there's more I could go into, but that led to where I am today, where I have several clients that I work with, but I also work with agencies as well, who bring me on as a developer. But I'm also kind of a jack of all trades. I help with design as well, help with choosing a theme. I kind of do the whole process from like, how do you choose a theme? How can we optimize this process so that the client spends the least amount of money and time and effort while getting as close to what they want for an e-commerce store?
Sounds great. So how much was the first paying job for you, the first paying gig?
I don't remember, but I want to say it was something like $50.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
For like some customization job. Yeah. And I think I
So
started at my hourly rate was like $35 an hour is where I started.
that's very good for starting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're competing with other countries like low currencies, and they are doing the same job for $10 and $15, and you managed to land the job. That sounds perfect for me.
Yeah, and I think the thing I learned about that, because initially I thought that was too high and I thought no one would hire me, but people know what they're paying for, and they're paying when I lowered my price. At first, it was the quality of clients that I was getting were expecting, really high quality work for basically no money, and it was just the quality of clients were not great. And when I just raised it to $35, I noticed the quality of clients that I was working with dramatically increased. So that allowed me. It was more of a mindset shift where it's like this is what I'm valuing myself at, and the people that I'm going to be attracting are going to spend the time and money and resources to pay for my level of skill and expertise.
So let's jump in another question. Before 2022, why did you choose Shopify development as a career? Was you a developer before? And another question, why did you choose free mode for that?
Yeah, so I was working as an engineer at an electrical engineering company in New York City, and I had been doing that for about 3.5 years at that point, and I loved it, but I had no flexibility. There was no remote option. It was going to a factory 5 days a week, and it was fun at first because it was my first job out of school, but and I went to school for computer engineering, so I have a little bit of a programming background, but more in electrical engineering and manufacturing. I just got to a point with a job where I saw that I wasn't really, this was going to be my life. It's a very specific and narrow skill set and field. And I could find a similar job in another city, but I'd be in the same situation. So I just felt like, at the time I was like maybe 27, and I felt like, if I'm going to make a career change, this is the time to do it. And I was looking at different boot camps online, and I had a couple suggested to me, and they were like 20 grand, like super expensive. And there was no promise that I would get any job. It was just these very vague promises, like 40% of some of our students, sometimes get internships. It was like,
sometimes
with an asterisk,
Yes, sometimes, yes.
And I had a friend who was doing the same thing, who had just signed up for this, $20,000 boot camp, and he was really struggling. And he had just spent like 4 months. He quit his job. He was really struggling to find work. So I was really skeptical of those boot camps. And then I actually just got served an ad on YouTube because they saw that I was searching for boot camps. And I think it was like Jan or somebody from Freemo talking about the boot camp, and it kind of caught my interest. And there was like a free call that was part of the ad, and it was just like, well, it can't hurt to have a free consultation call, like, that always can pull me in. And I found the offer to be really enticing, and part of it too is like, if you the part of their offer, at least this is years ago, so I don't know if this is still the case, but there was a money back guarantee where they literally said at any point during the course, if you feel like you're not getting your money's worth, you can have a full refund. And so it just felt like there was no risk for me. The price wasn't that much at the time. I think it's probably increased since then, but it was a fraction of what these boot camps cost, what these modern boot camps cost. So I just felt like I could do this boot camp while I was still on my job, gain these skills, and start working as a freelancer. And it just seemed kind of like a no-brainer with low risk. So I just said, why not? Yeah, I signed up for the boot camp, and I did the self-paced, course. And I think my favorite part of it is that they have these weekly calls twice a week. And those were really, like, the coursework is great, but the main thing for me was like I would get in these mental blocks where I could get through the coursework, but especially when I got to the freelancing part, like, it's really scary to put yourself out there when you've never actually done a job before. Like, for me, it was really scary. I didn't have any experience as a developer doing these specific kinds of things, so it was really scary to apply for these jobs. So those calls are great because they're like a really good mental boost where I can talk just emotionally about how I'm doing and feeling, and then a lot of the other developers have the same experiences, and so there's the community aspect for it for me was a really huge, and still is a huge win. And like I still go on the calls after 2.5 years and that's actually how we met. We met on one of these calls because I can share about anything I'm dealing with, technical or just emotionally, and somebody else on the call has experienced the same thing. So I just find it immensely valuable and powerful, and that's kind of what's led me here.
Yes, sounds good.
Let me add one other thing, which is part of why I chose to move in this direction is because I wanted more freedom in my life. Not going to the same factory every day. I wanted to be able to be more outdoors. I really enjoy hiking and different outdoor sports and cross country skiing, and I didn't have any of that flexibility in my old career, my old job, and so I just noticed how that was having an impact on my mental health and just feeling stuck in life. So I really wanted to. I had read this book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Work Week, and that really.
It's a very good book. It's a very good book. Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge. The idea that this whole idea of lifestyle design, like that I can design my life based on the life that works for me, rather than just taking a job that's gonna like help me pay the bills, like flipping it around, like what do I want my life to look like? What kind of flexibility do I want? How do I want to be spending my days? And then how can I find a career that fits in with that allows me to live that life? And so that was a huge reason why this felt like a good move.
A very good point, and the same points you're talking about. I read yesterday in the Personal MBA. I don't know who is the writer, but it's a very, very famous book. It's about the sufficiency expression. What is the sufficiency expression? It's about how much do I need in terms of money or material things or emotional things that I need to just be satisfied with my life. I don't have to be making $100 million per month or just $100 per month. It's just how much is sufficient for yourself, how many hours is sufficient for yourself to get started and keep doing your work with a good mental health, and which matter at the end of the day. You won't be happy if you have a lot of money and no mental health, and you won't be happy of having no money and you have mental health. So I think it's like an equation for both sides, and you have to decide for yourself what does the word sufficient mean to you.
Mm-hmm. What's the name of that book?
The Personal MBA.
The Personal MBA.
Yes.
Cool. I gotta write that down.
Yes.
Let me write that down.
Yes.
Personal MBA. Yeah, that reminds me of the. Have you ever heard of the book Walden?
No.
So, I mean, it's a classic American novel by Ralph Waldo Emerson or Henry David Thoreau. I forget, one of those two authors. And it's about, this is like maybe 150 years ago, but it's about this man who he wanted to experiment with basically just living, like building this really basic cabin in the woods, actually in upstate New York, close to where I live, funny enough. But he bought, I think he was living in New York City, and he was like, I just want to live in a cabin in the woods on the most bare minimum essentials and see just, if I could live my life like that. So he built this really tiny cabin, and he bartered for these materials with people in the town that he was in, and I don't know exactly the details, and then he had this like little garden that he would farm, just the basic essentials that he needed to live on, and basically was able to create this lifestyle where he could live on the basic bare essentials and nothing more than that. And he did that for about 2 years and wrote this book about it, and that was a really impactful idea in my life as well. Like, what are the bare essentials that I need to live my life, and how do I want to spend my time?
Yes, exactly. Another story regarding to the same point is it's also in the Personal MBA book. It was talking about a man who was working on Wall Street. He jumped in a vacation for like after 15 years of work, he jumped in a vacation and he go to very, very nomad space. And he find a fisherman who is just coming out of the sea, and he have a big fish, nice fish. So he go and ask him how much did it take to fish this fish or to get this fish. He told him a little bit, not too long. So he told he's a Wall Street employee. So he told them, why don't get more boats and get more fishes and build a bigger boat and get distributions, and he wanna convert it in a business wise. And he told him, and what the Wall Street employee asked him, what did you do in the rest of your day? He told him, I play with my kids, with my wife, having fun with my friends, and all of this stuff. He told them, why you have to build a business around that? The fisherman asked him, and what after that? He told him, you have a bigger company and distribution centers, and you may do a lot of things. And then he told him, then what? What can I do? And then you can retire. And when I retire, what I can do? Having fun with my kids, with my wife, and enjoying with my friends. So why bother myself with building all of this stuff when I'm sufficient with this amount of money and time with my friends and with my family? It's a very, very mind-blowing story, and I think it's changed a lot of things in myself.
So
because I myself.
Mind if I was going to ask you. Can I ask you a question? Because I know you had started this agency a while ago, and you've really built it up. Is this idea, a big factor in you wanting to spend more time and transition into more of a developer role inside of an agency?
Okay, the things that I'm transitioning from an agency owner to a developer role, I'm not transitioning. I'm just doing another job because I feel like nowadays I have nothing to do in my agency but developing the systems and the KPIs and all this management stuff, and I have no technical skill. I have a business management skills, and that's what I do in my agency, but I have no technical skills. And I feel something is missing in my soul, that I have to be a good in something, a good man in doing something, some technical skills. I have to do something with my hands to feel it. I think so, just a kind of personality.
So that's what that made me think of was, so just to understand what you're saying, so you started this agency and you really built it up, and then you're able to kind of assign all these different roles and delegate these different tasks and build these systems and almost remove yourself from the whole business, where now you're just kind of overseeing the operations and seeing where there are maybe some gaps that need to be filled. But most of your time now is like free. You're not putting out fires. You're not jumping in to fix this and fix that. You're just kind of like watching from afar. And it sounds like partially why you did that is so you could make some room in your life to do something that you wanted to do, which it sounds like build these skills and be able to add value more directly. But yeah, just like it sounds like building skills for you is like a worthy endeavor of your time. You're learning something new. You're activating different parts of your brain, and that's difficult to do. But it's a worthwhile endeavor because you've mastered the business side of things. I mean, I'm sure you're young, so you're still learning there, but it's not as exciting to you to just keep growing the business as hard as possible. You feel good there. You want to focus more on in a different area because you want to.
Yes, exactly. And of course, in my agency, I have a lot of problems every day in, day out. There are big problems with clients, between employees, between managers and employees. And of course, you have to jump in and solve these problems. But I believe in that micromanagement is a very bad thing. When you jump in a very small detail in your business and you just say, do that and do not do that, you're just blowing out your business. You have to give authority and responsibility to your employees so they can take decisions based on your systems and KPIs. So you told them before, and your vision and mission, you told them everything, and you let them do the work. They are humans and they have minds and they have characters, so you have to respect them and leave them do the job in the way you want. And at the end of the month, you have KPIs, you have reports, and if things are not going well, you have to come up and say things are not going well. even I remove you from the business or you improve yourself. That's it.
Can I ask you which KPIs you track? And KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. That's sort of like
Yes.
the metric that you're tracking for your
Yes.
statistics.
Exactly. I have KPIs for operations and sales and HR. The KPIs for operations is about client satisfaction and how much projects they get out of the operation per month. So we have projects in and we have projects out. How much projects out did you get in the month? So because they are earning a fixed salary, so they can just projects coming in, and you just do no work. They keep the projects in the company, and that causes a high workload, and they need more developers, and that can be done with the same amount of developers. So I track the amount of projects got out and the client satisfaction out of 10. After every project is done, a sales and experience member call the client. How are you? Can you give us a feedback on the process and everything? Out of 10, yeah, I think the work is 10 out of 10. No, I'm not satisfied. This is a very bad work. So I just track those two main things. And after that, I track also for the operation manager, how much did you develop your team in this month? Even language skills, technical skills, client communication skills. What did you teach your team members in this month? And the last thing is how much did you improve the workflow of a project from incoming to outcoming? Did you do automations? Did you improve the Notion templates or something like that? Did you improve the reach out text you do once the client is in? So these are the four key performance I track in the operation. And in the sales, I know you're gonna know it, just how much the sales they are in. And the experience, of course, because a sales member in my agency, and this is things I invented. I feel like I invented. Once a client is in, the sales converted in an experienced member, the same man. He was a sales at the first, and once the client is in, he's converted to an experienced member. He just in the WhatsApp groups or in the mails, so he can track how the developers act, how the developer act to the client and the client's need, and so on. But that's it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you track the how much a person is improving the automation processes, or the templates or something like that, because I find a lot of the times, as I've worked in some agencies, there are a lot of parts of that process that could be implemented, and sometimes I'll reach out and it's like, hey, we can improve this, and sometimes I don't, because it's just it's a waste of time, just focus on the project. But really, every time you do, and I have done this recently, where I reached out to the agency. I said, hey, this is outdated. Shopify has updated these settings, so we can take this part of the template out and this part of the template, and blah blah blah. And they were like, great. Can you update the template? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And they were really happy that I did that, because now every single time when other project managers go through that template, that time is going to be saved because it's not wasted anymore. So, but I had never considered that as a key metric to track. So that's cool.
Yes, I know that every small improvement I do in my agency will get the benefits of it after 1-2 years from this work. Mm-hmm. I have a story for Toyota in Japan. The engineers in Toyota have done on almost their lifetime like 100 million small improvement in their processes. Every small thing in the process, you just move it from here to here. This is a small improvement. No, just do it, and you're gonna find its benefit after many years.
So you make that part of, like, in your agency, you make that part of the culture almost. Like, hey, if you see a process that can be improved, improve it or check. And do you ask them, hey, can you tell us first before you change anything? Like, can you talk with us about what you want to improve? Because otherwise, it seems like it could get kind of messy.
Yes, of course. You just report to the direct manager for them, and if the direct manager has the authority to take decision in this part, he take it. If he has not, he report to the HR. If he has the authority, he do it. If he has not, he report to me as a higher level, and that's it. It's a very smooth process.
I want to ask you one more question on this key metrics, and then we can get back to your questions. But one of the things that I struggle with is estimating hours for projects. And there's different way. So I guess this is a two-pronged question. Prong one would be, how do you structure most of your projects? Are they do people buy like 30 hours from you at a discounted rate? Do people buy? Do you scope out the whole project and say, hey, for $3,000 you're getting X, Y, Z, and Z, and all these things, and then nothing else? And then so I guess let's start there. But then the second part of it would be, what do you do if you go over budget, or how do you keep the project under budget? And how do you deal with scope creep when a client's saying, oh, can you do this, this, and this also, but it's not in the scope, or maybe you're already over the hourly budget? Like, how do you deal with all those situations?
This is a very good question and critical part in the work, but it differs from an agency to a freelancer, because in an agency we have a lot of developers. We have developers working, so when a client over budget a project, I just can't say, just do the work. For the developers, just do the work, make the client happy, and all this stuff. But if you are just freelancers, once a client over budget the project, you have to stop and say, yeah, this is over budget. We can increase that, but I'm gonna do it this time only, and from the next time I'm gonna increase the rate. So you just put the client in a position. He feels like he's over budgeting, but you are a good person as a freelancer. You were telling me that I'm gonna move it and make things smooth this time, but from the next time I'm gonna increase my rates, or I'm just charging you more. I think this.
So you're saying, as an agent, like for your agency, you always just go, even if it's gonna go over budget, you just say, tell the developer, just do it anyway because we want to make the customer happy. But you're saying when you're just as a freelancer, not in your agency, but just a solo freelancer, you give a warning. You say, hey, this isn't in the scope, so I'm going to do this part for free, but just know in the future, this is going to be an added cost.
Yes, exactly. And in the agency, of course, I don't leave the things very open, but to a certain limit, I can keep the things going. And if the clients exceed his limits, the experienced member, just call him. You're just asking more than you paid, and we dealed on and we signed the contract on. So there's gonna be a charge of like that. And if the client's happy with that, he pays. And if he's not happy, it's our pleasure, because we did our things and you are exceeding the limits. So you are bad customers for the agency. And not all customers are good. There's a lot of bad customers. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to know your worth. You have to know that the agency processes are very good. You are giving a very good job. So once a client is exceeding and is not satisfying paying, so he's a bad customer, not you, not the agency.
Yeah, and Taylor Page, who runs some of the Freemote calls, and he's just he posts on LinkedIn. He's fantastic. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, I know him. I attended the last meeting with him. Yeah.
He's got great. He's got an amazing podcast, and he interviewed Toby Lutke from the Shopify CEO, and he's had some great people on. But one of the more recent episodes, he talked about clients and scope creep and having bad clients, and he says something like, I fire 30% of my worst clients every quarter or something like that. I fire them, and it makes room for better clients, and so. That's something that I'm trying to get better at, but it's hard.
Yes, it takes time. It takes time to gain confidence in yourself, so you can get to that level of confidence, so you fire clients. It's very, very level up. I think this is also in the 4 hours work week. He said that you just keep the clients that giving you 20% of your revenue and fire all the rest of 80%. And when you think about it, it's a mind-blowing. You just work with 20% what we're working with, they're getting you the most revenue, and you just fire the rest. And keep room for your life, keep room for improvement and your mental health and all this stuff. So I think this is very good. Yes. So back to our questions.
Yes.
It's a very, very nice talk, yeah. Back to our questions. In the first part, when starting as a Shopify expert or Shopify developer, what was the hardest thing to get started? In the first 1 to 3 months, was it the technical skills you're learning? Was it the proposing to a work or something like that? What was the hardest thing to just push you up?
It was the imposter syndrome. And a lot of people talk about this when they first start. it was having no confidence to say and think that I could actually do this kind of thing, and someone would pay me, because I'd never done it. And so there was a huge barrier of confidence to overcome. And I knew that the only way, well, I didn't know, I learned that the only way to overcome the imposter syndrome is by doing real work. So the Upwork proposals that I would send out initially, like I said, they would take me 6 hours because I needed it to be perfect. I needed to know exactly what the solution was, and I needed to give them the solution and make a perfect video. And if the video wasn't perfect, I had to make it over and over and over again, 20, 30 takes. And just way over analyzing it and trying to be perfect. And over time, I got better at making the Loom videos and faster. Now I can send them out in 5 to 10 minutes, and there's still custom videos that I make that are based on the exact problem that the potential client is talking about. But now I have the confidence because I've done enough work and I know what I'm doing. I'm not doubting myself because I've gained that confidence. But that came through 2 years of doing real work and putting these proposals out and getting rejected, and then fixing, making small changes until I've fine-tuned the process where now my response rate on Upwork is something like 30%, 30 or 40% of the proposals I put out are getting responses, and it was probably closer to like 5% at first.
Yeah, sounds great. So it was the imposter syndrome, and I think this exists in every freelancer mindset, the imposter syndrome. And you give us the solution by saying that you just do the work and it's just gonna get better by this time. So we're gonna transition in the second section of this episode, which is about the technical skills and the developer approach. And I'm gonna start with the first question, which is
one moment.
Yes.
I want to add
Go
one
ahead,
more
yeah.
thing to that
Go
last
ahead.
thing that I said,
Go ahead.
which is
Of course.
the other piece that really helped. You can do. I did all the projects in free mode. I passed them with flying colors. So, from the perspective of the boot camp, I graduated the boot camp. I had all the skills I needed. Yet I still felt lost in some of these jobs. Like, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to screw this up, or like maybe I know how to do this. It didn't matter because no matter what, as long as it was somewhat related to Shopify, I would apply for the job on Upwork. And there were a lot of times where I didn't exactly know what the solution was, but I applied anyway, and I was upfront about that with the client. And then once I was hired, I would run into issues where I thought I would be able to figure something out, and then I got stuck. But what helped me in the situations was coming on the group calls, the free mode group calls, and just saying like, hey, this is a problem I'm having. I don't know how to fix it. And I'd get a solution in minutes. If I couldn't find it myself, I would reach out for help. And that was like a big lesson I learned, is like, if I can't figure something out in 30 minutes, stop what I'm doing and reach out for help, because I'm just wasting my time at that point. And that's including like AI. Like, I would use AI, and I like Perplexity, I like ChatGPT. I would use all these tools, but up to a certain point, if I still couldn't figure it out, like, get some help. So that's the other piece of it, is like, imposter syndrome is real, and the way to nip it in the bud is by just getting help and just keep signing up for jobs and keep doing it. And if you don't know the exact answer, like, that's okay. You can get help, and that's the only way that I was able to make it through. Is I wasn't doing it alone. I was constantly getting help from other developers and resources that were people that are smarter and better than me, that have been doing this for much longer.
Yes, so 2 things to overcome the imposter syndrome, which you said that are keep doing the work. That's the first and the most important thing, and the most hard thing, I think, is like 60% of overcoming the imposter syndrome, which is keep doing the work. And the second one is get help from your community, get help from other developers, and just say, I cannot do this, can you help me with that? And I think it's gonna be solved definitely.
And it sometimes can be really hard to put the laptop down and say, I can't figure this out right now, and I'm wasting my time, and I'm gonna get help, as opposed to, no, I'm just gonna use this AI tool, and then I'm just gonna pull an all-nighter, and I'm gonna figure this out, and it's gonna happen, and just brute force my way through it, and then now I haven't slept, and now I'm losing my mind, and it's just the ego, letting my ego, take a rest, and just asking for help. It's not the easiest thing to do.
I wish I will remember to speak about the ego at the end of the episode, because it's a very, very important topic, and I think it changed a lot of things in our life as a Shopify experts and as a freelancers overall. So let's try. Do you have anything to add on this topic?
No, just like I really think that the biggest barrier that I've seen for myself and that I've seen for other developers is the fear of like really becoming a salesman and selling my services. It was a really scary process. But once I learned that it's not about selling people, it's about what value can I provide, and finding the jobs that fit my skill set, and framing the job application from like, this is how I can help you, this is how I can add value to you, and giving that away for free and doing that as much as possible. It no longer became hard to sell people. It was just like, here's what I see could help you with this, and give that away for free. And then if people enjoyed that, then they would be like, I want to hire you. I want to pay you. And then from there, it just becomes more of a pricing strategy, which is still something that I'm working through. But yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to say.
That was too much information. Very, very good and very helpful, I think, for all the people who are listening. So the other thing I want to talk about is the technical skills. What is your now technical skills or skill set? And what is the skills that gonna differentiate a Shopify developer from another to a higher salaries or a higher hourly rate?
That's a really good question, and it's I'm still like, if the skills I offer are like going from a line, it's like theme development, and then it's like maybe like like started in theme development, and I was really bad at it. It was just taking me a long time to do stuff, and I did a couple of not so great jobs and got some bad feedback, and was cost people more money than they expected to cost, and then I've gone to like more recently I've been working more in the kind of like full services development side. So like from A to Z building a storefront, like that's a really common service that I've seen people want, is like they don't really know what their website's going to look like. They just know the service or product they want to offer, and it's more of like, I'm the expert. I've been using this platform for a long time. I now have these skills where I can show you how to pick a Shopify theme, because we're not going to do a custom theme. It's just, you're going to just waste your time and money. Like, let's just pick a theme that works for your product or service. Like, here are some themes I suggest, and here's the you're going to provide me with these assets, and I'm going to put this together for you, and then we can have a couple of design rounds back and forth, and that part there might require some customization if they really want a part of the homepage to look a certain way that's not part of the theme. Then I'll go into the CSS a little bit and shift things around, but not do anything that crazy. And I'll warn them too, like, this is going to be some extra development costs. But I guess, like, yeah, to answer your question more directly, I've been all over the place. I've also done a lot of app integrations, and just like installing like the Google Pixel, and doing a lot of when I was first starting out, it was really hard to get the customization jobs because I didn't have experience. So a lot of it was just like, people needed help with Google Analytics. So like, I had to learn how Google Analytics worked with the integration with Shopify. So I've been all over the place, and I'm still a little all over the place. But with this one agency that I work with now, I'm overseeing several store builds, and I'm seeing it from A to Z. So I'm more of a consultant, but I'm also a project manager, and I'm a developer. And we use Asana to track every single task of the entire store build. So it's just a lot. I'm dealing with a lot and managing a lot, but it's I'm kind of like a liaison for these merchants. I'm helping them fill in the gaps, because a lot of the times they're coming to this agency with like, hey, I started to try to build this store, but I got stuck on this part and I don't know what to do about it. And so I'm coming in to walk them through that process. Yeah, I'm getting a notification that my video is I think I'm back. So
It's now
does
working.
that answer your
yes.
question?
Yeah, of course it answers the question, but let me just bring it out. So you started with theme development, and it didn't work. You just worked as a theme or just to choose a theme with a client, and you just do a little bit of CSS editing, and you tell the clients that is extra development. And you've tried a lot of things out, like integrations with Meta and integration with Google Ads or Google Analytics and apps integration and things like that. But that brings another question, which is, if I'm a new to the Shopify development space and I have no developer experience before, what is the data skill or the skill set that I should start with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's custom theme development. I mean, you really, it's just getting your feet wet. It might be hard to find a custom theme development job from the get-go. So to be realistic with you, especially if you're starting on Upwork, for me, it was like, I'll take anything I can get. I just need to get my foot in the door, because once I did, even if it was just a really basic, like, one of my first jobs that I got was like integrating Etsy and Walmart into the Shopify store, which all that required was like downloading the Etsy app, downloading the Walmart app, and then having the client log into those services, and then it's connected, and it's just like, okay, you're gonna pay me for that, sure. But now I'm working for him. He's like, oh, can you also do this and this? And oh, and actually, I have a Figma file. I want you to create like this part of my page. I want you to make it look like this. And now I'm in his. I've proven to him that I can deliver the work on time and within budget, and built some trust there. And now he trusts me to do some other development. So I think a big part of it is just get your foot in the door. It doesn't have to be the perfect customization job. It can just be literally anything related to Shopify that you might think it's beneath you, but it'll get your foot in the door, and then you'll build some trust with the client, and then they'll ask you to do other stuff, and then now you have an hourly. Now you have like a retainer contract where you're getting paid hourly, per week, and the other thing too that I've noticed is like. And this definitely took some confidence building, but like with my current clients, like I noticed there were parts of their website that were like crappy and they're loading slow. They looked terrible, and so I would just reach out to them and say, hey, especially if there wasn't any work in a while, just hey, I noticed that your mobile above the fold like isn't really optimized. It's a little bit confusing, and like with a couple of small changes, like. I think it'll make a big difference to your site speed, which will affect the SEO and people finding the site, and it'll just it'll affect your conversion rate, because people know what they're looking at when the page loads. And a lot of my clients are like, oh my gosh, like that's awesome. Like, yeah, how much is it going to cost, and like what and how long will it take you to do it? And it was like a no-brainer for them. So I think a lot of it is really just getting your foot in the door and providing value and showing that you can communicate effectively and get things done on time, and then you will get projects and more work easily after that point.
So by the skill set you said before, which is theme development, you mean that HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Liquid. That's right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely not as much. Like I really haven't done much JavaScript at all. It's mostly HTML, CSS, Liquid. Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of the times it's pretty simple, but I've seen it's a pretty common thing where people need a landing page built, and they have a designer that creates the Figma file. They send me the Figma file, and then I'll do the build the custom page. And I'm not gonna lie, like those are hard. Still for me, those are hard jobs, because there's a lot of custom development and code and testing, and then there's the mobile version and there's the desktop version, and it takes time. It's hard to estimate, and so the couple of jobs that I have done that, it's taken me a lot longer than I thought, and so the client was upset because they thought that I way overcharged them, when in reality, I just didn't have that much experience with it. And so I just charged them how long it took me at the rate that they agreed to. But I think in retrospect and going forward, like I want to be more realistic about how long it's going to take me to do something and communicate that to the client. Like say, hey, at most this is going to be how long it's going to take and how much it's going to cost. And then once they agree to that, if that doesn't happen, like if I realize I'm going to go over budget or hours, but it's still within the scope, I'll just take that cost on myself, because I realize it's more important for the client to keep my word and to do what to keep it within the cost that they're expecting. Otherwise, they're losing money, and that's not fun.
Yes, gotcha. I think in adding to your text and your advices, I think the things that elevate your skill set to another level, I think is not technical, it's about client communication. And we will jump to that topic in the third section. But for now, what is the most hard project you have taken on, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, I built a custom landing page for a client, and got a Figma file, had the whole design in front of me. They made it really easy for me to do it, but that was the first time I had done something like that to that level, and I hadn't really had a lot of experience with GitHub, and so I was doing a lot of stuff for the first time, and so it was really like throwing myself into the deep end. I think that it was hard also because I didn't know how much of the custom development the client wanted to have to be able to control within the theme settings. So like when I built this custom page, do they want to be able to control the image size of the section? Do they want to be like how many of the variables do they want to control? So there, it was hard. It was hard to manage that, and it just took a long time.
And how did you overcome that? Did you ask for help, like from community or something, or you just do it yourself?
I did most of it just myself, and I was able to figure it out as I went. I think there were a couple parts of that project that I got stuck on, and then I just went on the free remote calls and I said, I'm stuck with this part of the project. I don't know how to fix it. There was some JavaScript loading stuff that was happening actually. With an app they were using that was causing the page to look weird, that I was able to figure out. So yeah, I did go on a couple of the free remote calls to get help, actually, now that I remember it.
Regarding to the projects, and speaking of the project, what is the most project you are proud of and you're proud of taking on?
Yeah, probably the agency that I work with right now, I just started working for them about a month ago. It's probably what I'm most proud with. They're one of the best agencies I've ever worked with in terms of their professionalism. And
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Their project management tool, Asana, that they use, it's just everything's so organized. And I'm actively working on about 7 projects just for this one agency, which, before working for them, I would think that that's like bonkers and crazy. But because of the project management tool, I can see every single part of every single project. I can see where we're at, which tasks are done, which still need to be made. I can write comments in each one of these subtasks and say, here's what was done this day, here's what was done this day, here are the notes from the client. Everything is just really centrally located, so it's really easy to find that we use Google Drive for all the files of the client. It's just like everything has gotten, they've created these systems that make everything really centralized and easy to find assets. And so it's like I've learned so much already just working there, and it's cool to be able to be the lead project manager for several of these clients and to bring these stores into life. And like these are bigger clients that I haven't worked with before. So I get to work with people who are really, up to making something big. So there's more pressure and there's more on the line. And I kind of like that stress a little bit. I like the pressure. I really want to perform, and I want to make sure that they're, I want to do well, and I want to be successful, and I want to keep getting work, obviously. But I want their service and their website to succeed. So that's stuff. I think this current role is what I'm most proud of.
I think, speaking of the stress, I think we love the stress because it gives us value. We feel value for ourselves doing that under stress. So I think most of the freelancers like stress because of that.
Yeah, and stress is good. It can be good. When there are months in this journey where I didn't have work to do, and technically there was no stress because I didn't have any work to do. So there's no stress, but there was a ton of stress because I didn't have anything to do. So I had to get a part-time job at a campground where I worked, as a front desk manager, front desk like guest relations person, and that was stressful because I didn't have anything to do. And so I think stress is really good. And yes, too much of it. Like if I have 100 clients and I'm doing it all by myself, or the project I'm trying to do too much alone and not sleeping, that is too much. And like I think every person has to, every freelancer has to figure out what they're willing to take on, and at a certain point be okay with delegating some of the work or saying no to some of the clients. But yes, like I, coming from a place where I was at earlier this year where I just didn't have work to do, where I was in a lull, I'd much rather have a little bit of stress that's like I am accountable for making this project happen and this website happen. It gives me purpose, it gives me drive, and that's a really good feeling. And it can be stressful to receive a notification that's like this website's down or this is broken, but that's kind of what I've signed up for.
Yes, exactly. It's you just address what I feel. You just say what I feel. Exactly. So for the third section about the sales, and this is the most asked question between the developers starting out and how do they get clients and so forth and so on. So let me know more about that. How do you get clients? Platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, or you just do outbound cold emails, cold outreach, Instagram reach out, LinkedIn? How do you manage all of that, and why did you choose that way?
So the short answer is Upwork and LinkedIn. I'll start with Upwork, and that's where I started. It's very much part of the free Moat curriculum is start on Upwork and got my first jobs there, and built up a profile, built up some reviews. And because it's the most direct way to find work that's relevant to what I do. And I can put in filters and I can apply for these jobs, and then I make custom videos for every single application that I put in. And I talk about exactly how I approach solving their problem, or what, I even sometimes just give them, like, this is what you can do to make this, like, you don't even need to hire me. And then I'll also boost the proposal. I'll spend some extra connects to boost the proposal so that I show up in the top, at least the top 5 proposals. And it's just been a really proven method for me. I also only apply for proposals in the U.S. just because that's kind of like the higher paying jobs, and I don't apply to anything with more than 20 proposals already. So those are kind of my parameters, and it helps me stand out, and it's given me the best results, and it's consistent. Like I know if I put 10 proposals together in a given week, at least 3 or 4 of them will get back to me, and at least 1 or 2 of those will end up with a job. I'll end up with a job. So it's been the most effective method for getting work. The quality of clients isn't great there because people are looking for cheap labor. But it was a really good starting point for me in getting experience, getting help. I just, doing speed optimization is something that I want to move more into. I haven't done that many of those kinds of jobs, and I just took Jan offered this like kind of free speed optimization course that he made. And I've noticed that's a service that a lot of people ask for. So I just applied for a job on Upwork that was asking for speed optimization help, and they really liked my video, so I'm going to work for them. And earlier today, I was going through Jan's exercise, and I already made like a whole document, a checklist of all of these things that this company can do to improve their speed. So but I'm not. They're not paying me much, to be completely honest, and I'm okay with that because it's the first time I'm doing this. So I want to have a low bar, a low stakes job where I know there's not a lot on the line, but once I get good at this skill, I can charge a lot for it. So that's the Upwork piece of it. And then for LinkedIn, what I've noticed is I post on there regularly. I just share about kind of technical projects that I'm working on. I share about more personal stuff that's happening in my life. I just share like kind of what's really present for me in any given moment in my life, and I try to do it as regularly as possible. But it really comes out to like 1 or 2 posts a month. And people find me through LinkedIn because they see there's all these posts related to Shopify and Shopify development. So I get a lot of people reaching out to me, both agencies, recruiters, all different types of people reaching out to me because of they see the content that I'm posting on there. And I get a lot of great opportunities through that, just through direct messaging. And it's been a really great way to get some higher end clients that are willing to pay more. I haven't done so much cold outreach outside of Upwork, and the LinkedIn is mostly inbound. I've tried a little bit of the cold email stuff, but that stuff I've gotten 0 results from it. It just gets buried in their inboxes. When I connect with people on LinkedIn and send messages, I get really great responses. It's something I want to do more of, is just direct outreach on LinkedIn. But you only get 5, free connects a month or something like that, or free messages a month. So, but yeah, that's definitely like LinkedIn is just so powerful, and the quality of people on there is very high. So it's an area that I want to invest more into, and just creating more content and putting more resources out there for people to share about my journey and what I've learned, which is why I love that we're doing this.
Yes, sounds perfect. So wrap it up, you have 2 sides, which is Upwork and in which you do outreaches. And what I like about what you're saying is that you have parameters and you have process. So I feel like you put yourself a boundaries so you don't get out of them. So you have a proven process, which you don't apply for a job of more than 20 proposals already applied. You have a parameters of the country you are applying for a job in, and all this kind of stuff. I think it helps a lot. Of course, you don't just jump in Upwork and you just throw all your connects in not worth it projects or jobs. And the second part in LinkedIn, you just produce content, you just do the outreaches, at least 3 outreaches per month, which is the limit. Are you willing to invest in any software like Sales Navigator of LinkedIn, or you just any software that it can bring in more clients? Do you advise the beginner freelancers to do so?
Well, to answer your first question, yeah, I'm going to. There's a free trial for LinkedIn Plus, or however they say it, that includes the Sales Navigator. So at some point, I'm definitely going to do that and try it out. I've heard amazing things about it, and right now, I think more of my focus and efforts are delivering for this agency that I'm working for part-time and putting a lot of my energy there. But I don't want to I want to have diversity with my clients. I don't want to just put all my eggs in one basket. So ultimately, I do need to have I need to move away from Upwork, and I do need to have more diversity of clients. And I do. Yeah, I'm gonna at some point use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and if I determine that it's worth it, I would easily pay for that. I think it's like $80 a month or something like that, which seems like a lot, but if I get one really high quality client, it pays for itself immediately, like tenfold.
Yes, exactly. So for the client management and the communication part, I will start with the first question in this section, and it is what is your value stream? This also I learned from the personal MBA. It's about the expression value stream. Value stream is from the client coming in till the client going out or the onboarding, from the onboarding to the off or outboarding. What is your process in that, from just reaching out to the offboarding?
Gotcha. So you're asking like, what is the process from start to finish? Like, how do they find me? How do we start the job, and then how are they offboarded?
we just covered how do you find them or the reach out part. You can start from just the client is in and you're doing the onboarding and you're just requesting all the data you need, till the offboarding you're just handing over.
Yeah, so it usually looks like, and we'll just talk about Upwork. I apply to a job, send out a proposal with a custom video. They respond and say, this is great, and then I say, let's get on a video call. I can offer like a free 30-minute consultation, and we can see if it would make sense for me to work on it. Otherwise, I can refer somebody. Have the video call. I always have a video call with every client before I work with them because I want to see them. I want to get to know who they are. I want to make sure I'm working with someone who's legit, and kind of learn a lot by having a video call. So we have the call, learn what the problem is, and if I'm a good fit for the solution, then I'll give them a rough estimate. And it can be a number of different kind of contracts. It could be an hourly contract. It could be a bundle of hours that I sell them at a discounted rate. It can be one big project that is like a full store build for the X amount of dollars. With a full scope, and whatever it is, I will send them a contract with the explicit steps of the contract, and at that point they'll either accept it or not accept it, and we begin the contract. And so yeah, that's kind of what the onboarding looks like.
So I have two questions here. When you apply to a job in Upwork, they predetermine its price. So you just apply, and in the video meeting you say that no, this is my price, or you just say the price you've listed is not good.
Yeah, I like to have the meeting to understand more about the job first, because like when you do apply for an Upwork job, like there is that price there, but it's not set in stone, and you can reformat the job. So I always get to know them first, understand the project more deeply. And then from there, I usually give them like a ballpark number of how much it's going to cost based on the new information.
And you give that number in the meeting, or you just say, I'm going to send you a proposal after the meeting with 30 minutes or something?
I give them a ballpark number, like, between this much and this much, but I have to spend some time to go through and actually estimate how long it's going to cost to give you something that's accurate. That's typically what I do. Because they want to have something to see if it's worth it. But I can't give them a specific estimate because, as you know, it takes time to scope out a job and make sure that you're giving an accurate estimate.
And speaking out of the money and the thing that is very important to all of us, how do you negotiate money in terms of hourly rate or fixed price, and which one do you prefer more?
Yeah, it's a big, deep rabbit hole topic, but I have an hourly rate. My hourly rate is $99 an hour at this time, and so if it's a job that is open-ended, I like to give out a bundle of hours. So I say like 30 for. I have to be careful because every person's different, but for X number of hours, I'll give you I'll give you 30 hours at this discounted rate. And I'll discount my rate based on how many hours they buy. And so it's more of a retainer contract where the scope is very open-ended, and I track the time, and then when that time is finished, they can renew that contract, and we can talk about the terms of that. That's a pretty popular model that I've used that I really like because I can get the money up front, which I like, and they're not locked in for a forever thing. And they can the hours will never expire, which they like too. The other side of it would be like something that's more project based, where it's like they want a store build, and that's a pretty typical price. I charge anywhere from $5,000 to up to $15,000. I mean, it can go higher than that, although I haven't really gone higher than that. It just depends on the complexity of the project and how much customization that they want to do.
So why do you charge only 99? Why not 100?
That's a good question. It was just some advice that I got from somebody, and I guess it's like a mental thing, you know. People think that they're getting a little bit more value. Right? It's not quite $100. I don't know. It's kind of
Yes,
stupid.
yes, I feel it in the shelf for the products or something like that. But it's the first time to hear it from a freelancer that he just do this hack in the hourly
Yeah.
rate. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you have any red flags once you jump in a client or something like that? You say, I won't work, even if you're in your mind only, I won't take that project. Do you have any red flags for clients? So do you would share it with the
Yeah.
freelancers?
If they refuse to have a video call, then it's a no from me, because I'm all about communication. So that's an easy one. Another red flag would be if they consistently ask for work that's outside of the scope, and they're not respecting the scope. And I'll tell them like, hey, this is going to be charged extra. But if they fight with me for that, that's a red flag. Another red flag is if I'm getting messages at odd hours of like, you need to do this right now kind of thing, and it's happening a lot. Like once in a while I get it, but if it's happening a lot, I'm very clear about these are the hours I'm available. I respond to everything within one business day, and outside of that, I have a life. I'm just not going to respond. And so if that boundary is continually broken, that's a red flag as well.
Yeah, sounds very interesting to me that you have a very legit red flags to choose your clients. And these red flags, I think by the time it's gonna evolve and gonna be more red flags as long as you experience more difficult projects and more difficult clients, so you're gonna evolve that red flags to be more and more.
Exactly. Like I couldn't have foreseen these things. It was based on experience, and every freelancer's got to go through some have some rough clients in order to figure out what their terms are going to be.
Yes, exactly. So another question in the client management and communication section, which is how do you build trust, or you build like, I'm not saying friendship, but you just build this kind of connection with the clients when working with them?
Yeah, I mean, trust is super important. The first thing is to provide as much value as possible. Like I said with the Upwork videos, I just give them the solution. I give them as much value as I can for free, and that builds a lot of trust, because I'm not trying to sell them something. I'm just like, look, this is what you need to do. This is how you can do it. So that's a really big barrier that is overcome immediately. But once we get on the call with a client, like I don't like to jump right into business. I like to just get to know who they are. Like where are you calling in from? Like what do you do? Like, how do you like to spend your free time? Just kind of like as a human being, like who are you in the world? Get to know who they are a little bit, and then kind of once the ice is broken a little bit, we can go into it'll naturally lead into the business conversation. But people want to be treated like human beings and not just like jobs. So I think those two things have helped me a lot to just build relationships and another thing that I've been trying to do is if I have a client or I work with an agency that's local, I try to just meet up with them in person. Like, hey, let's hang out, let's have a beer, let's go on a hike, just as friends, not as like business people, and just build relationships that way too. I think it's like everything is so online now and digital, and I love being in person. If we could have this, we're actually not that far away from each other right now, but if we could have this conversation in person, that would be freaking awesome.
Yes, of course, I would love to.
Yeah. I just have to cross the Taba border.
So for the thing you said in a meeting, you can ask about their lives or something like that. I think there's a very thin layer between jumping in friendship and staying in your lane, which is the business part. Many business owners can say, let's just skip and get to the business. And that's a very, very bad one if you have it in a meeting.
Yeah, totally. Like some people, like they just want to go straight to business, and it's like, okay, sure, no problem. Like I can tell when that's happening, and if they just want to skip the small talk and go straight to business, like okay, cool. You just want to get to business.
Yes.
That's cool too.
Yes, things I have discovered lately in the business calls, that when you're talking business, you have to break with small question about your life. Do you go to the gym? What was your training today, or what do you do for living? Any of just other stuff, and you break that and you just get back to business. So you don't just speak friendly and you forget about business, and also you don't just speak about business only.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yes, to the final part, which is the future of Shopify from the perspective of Isaac Wellish, and which is I care about, of course. What do you think about Shopify Hydrogen and the future of it? Do you think it's just a trend or something like that, or it's just a legit development career you have to join and you have to elevate to?
Hydrogen, I went to the Shopify Summit this year in Toronto. That was amazing. Talk about like in-person experiences. I'm going to go back. They're doing it again in May. If there's any way you can get over to Toronto, I would do it. It's amazing. Like I just met so many incredible developers and people, and I was very much out of my element. I didn't know that many people. I mean, I didn't know anybody in it, but I definitely didn't know a lot of the technical lingo that people were using, and so it was a lot. But I learned a lot. They talked about hydrogen a lot during that conference, but the sense that I got was like that's more for like these really high-end like Shopify Plus like companies who are like really like have a team of engineers. Like in order to run like hydrogen, like you need like a team of engineers. It's not a one-man job. It's like a headless website. It takes a lot of maintenance and care, and that's just like a totally different part of the business that I'm not really interested in. Maybe one day if I want to go more technical, but I'm not really that interested in that direction. I think for the vast majority of clients and merchants, they're not going to need a headless store. They need to build a store with a. They usually just want a theme picked and do a little bit of custom development, and they want to be able to control. They want to be able to control their store. They want to be able to shift the pictures around. They want to add a new banner for the holidays. Like they need to have the customizer to be able to manage their store. They're not gonna depend on developers to like make any little small change to their store. So I think it's just something that Shopify needs to have as an option for some of these bigger companies that have a whole team of developers that can do all this engineering and have the pipeline work a certain way and have the page perfectly optimized. But I don't think that that's going to be like everyone's moving to hydrogen. There's no way.
So it's just a step that's so far from now. You have to be interested in it to go for it. If you're not interested, you're not obligated to do so, right?
100%. Like if you want to work for like a big Shopify Plus agency that's working for that's creating these big storefronts and it's like really code heavy, and you want to be in that kind of world, then yeah, spin up a hydrogen store, mess around with the development. There's tons of stuff you can do. That's not necessarily where I'm super focused and interested in personally. So I'm not really spending a lot of time and resources there.
Yes, sounds perfect. And for the market saturation, what do you think about market saturation? Because I have a point on that. I feel that there is no saturation in any service-based business. And that's because saturation comes from all of people producing the same service, and the clients are getting less and less, and there's a saturated market. But in our service-based business, people evolve. Yes, they evolve from getting to Upwork and then producing content, and then they can be selling courses, they can open an agency, and they can just sit up there and manage a lot of teams. There's a lot of evolvement and growing over the way. So there's always a space for people starting out, and you just evolve and evolve and evolve. I hope you got my message.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like it's definitely getting more saturated. Like there's more developers, more Shopify developers now. But there's also more store owners and people opening Shopify stores than there ever has been. There's more merchants. There's more companies that are shifting over from their platforms to Shopify than ever before. Shopify is just taking over. It's like pretty obvious what's happening. And there's so many different services that you can offer. Like I said, I'm starting to offer this speed optimization service because I've seen it's like one of the most requested services that people want, and it makes a big difference. So like maybe one service gets really flooded, and now like, you know, people don't, or maybe it's not as popular anymore, and there's so many people offering this service. Okay, go to another service. You know, web development is so broad, and there's so many different ways you could tackle it, and different things that you can offer, and it's always changing. Shopify's coming out with new updates constantly. So I see there's a million directions you can go in, and if something's not working, you can shift in another direction. It's really like an ever evolving and endless, abundant amount of work that has to be done.
Yes, exactly. So for the last part, which is quick fire questions, you have to answer with just only one thing or something like that. What is the
With
favorite?
one word or one sentence?
Whatever. There's no barrier to that. Whatever you do.
As few as word as possible.
Yes, exactly. What is the most used Shopify app or your favorite Shopify application?
That's actually a hard one. I would say it was Klaviyo, but I haven't been seeing it as much lately. People are just using the email, the Shopify internal email. Man, I don't know why it's such a hard question to answer, because I haven't been. Maybe Yotpo, reviews app. I've seen that one a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
a popular reviews app. Yeah.
Okay. Do you use dark mode or light mode when you are coding in VS Code?
Dark mode.
One e-commerce store that you get inspired from and you like the most?
Matina. It's a mate brand.
Can you
It's
please
a
write
yerba
it in the
mate.
chat so I can?
Is there a chat?
I
I
think
see
yeah.
chat. Yeah, Matina. I think it's just matina.com. Yeah, I think they're running the. Oh, maybe I didn't spell it right. Matina. Oh, it's matina.ca, that's why. Matina.ca. There it is. Yeah, they're hosting, they're using the Shapes theme, which is a great theme. I've worked with it a couple of times. I like it simple.
I will give it a look, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, who do you suggest to sit in your place, or do I host in the next meeting? Do you suggest any of the freelancers or experts in this space? You can suggest up to 3 ones.
Yeah, I would suggest Zach. I forget his last name, but he has a YouTube channel called Coding Japan or Shopify. He has two channels. One's called like Shopify Ninja, and then another one is like Zach Japan. I forget what it is, but he's great. And then another one would be I would say like anyone from the Freemote community. I think those are great folks to talk to. Yeah.
Any specific names for the 2 rest ones?
Talk to Ellie. I'll give you his full name. I forget his last name. And another friend of mine is who's also done Freemote, and he lives in Bali currently, is Jonathan.
I'm gonna reach all of them. I hope they answer, and I hope they jump in the next meeting. I hope, yeah.
Sure. I'll give you their names. Yeah.
Yes. The last thing in the meeting, I really appreciate every second of your time. I really get a lot of the meeting for myself and the benefits, and I hope the listeners have it too. The last thing, what is the piece of advice you wanna leave it for the freelancers, developers, business owners, or anyone who would like to start in the Shopify development career or just take it for the daytime job?
Don't do it alone. If you really want to do this and you want to make this a priority, don't do it alone. Have some sort of community that you're a part of, whether it's the Freemote community or there's tons of online communities that you can join. Taylor Page has a community that he started. don't do it alone. At least go to LinkedIn. There's Facebook groups. There's so many groups that you can join. And the only way that I was able to get to where I am is by getting help, and talking about what my struggles were. And don't do it alone.
Yes, sounds different. Yes. All people just learn so and do so, and you just hit it different. Yeah. Thank you so much, Isaac Wellish, for today's meeting. I hope you have a great day, and I hope the listeners are gonna get a lot of benefits and value out of this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mustafa, thanks for having me on here. It's been a pleasure. I'm really impressed by you and what you're up to and what you're doing, and there's a lot that I can learn from you about how you built your agency, and it's great that we can learn from each other, and I love that you're providing this for free for people. So thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye.